Hello, I'm Citrus, and you're looking at the metal composite RX-78-2 Gundam Ver.Ka with G-Fighter. Starting with the box, because if you're going to pick up one of these today, you're probably going to get it secondhand, and that means the tape on the inside that holds all the packaging together might not be intact. And this is packaged in a particular way that makes it kind of dangerous to open if you don't know how it's laid out on the inside. So when you have it, make sure you open it with it standing up like this, and if at all possible, grip both the top and the bottom of the inside styrofoam as much as you can. And as I'm holding it here, you can see that the entire figure, instead of being packed in multiple layers as we would have with modern figures, the whole thing is packed on two sides of one layer. So you have the G-Fighter and all that stuff on this side, and then you have the Gundam and all that stuff on this side. So if you were to open it like this, as you would with a normal box, and there was no tape in place, as soon as this comes out of the box, or even halfway out, you could have one end just completely fall apart and spill everything over your table, on your floor, or what have you. So that's just something to be careful of. Now that we have this out of the box, this figure came out in 2007, retailing for 11,800 yen, and it was re-released again in 2008, retailing for 8,500 yen, this time with the Beam Javelin, but without the G-Fighter. Being an older figure, the fit and finish isn't perfect, and you can see there are some pretty obvious seam lines from where the parts come together, especially on the arms. So a little bit less obvious on the legs because there are more panel lines hiding them, but you can see here these are clearly the pieces that cover up some screws underneath. Everything on the outside is plastic. The metal is basically all in the frame, and all the plastic is painted, so when you touch it, it has a pretty good feeling in your hands. The markings and everything are also pretty durable, so you don't have to worry too much about damaging them or anything like that. Articulation is pretty decent, nothing too amazing. You have a little bit over 90 in the elbows, same in the legs, pretty good range in the ankles. And you have just ball joints there. And the waist can technically swivel, but you really can't because there are these gray pieces on top of the side skirts that go right into the side of the torso that kind of lock it in place. Don't really know why they did that. It's got kind of part of the Katoki-ness of this, if that makes any sense. On the whole, the articulation is about on par with the master grade, so there are no real differences between the two. Although I do prefer the metal composite because the chest here is a bit narrower, and that helps the overall proportions look a bit more balanced. This is a really straightforward action figure, and there aren't really any gimmicks on the body. You have this thing on the back that can flip open, and this will hold the bazooka, but nothing else really aside from that. Of course, you can open the middle, and as right now you can see it's hollow. There is a really solid connection between the top and the bottom halves. You can see here there's just two pegs that go into the inside here, and that holds this together really well. As for what you'd put inside it, here's the core fighter, which looks pretty nice, lots of painted details and little markings on it. As for the canopy, it doesn't open, and when you flip it over you can see two really obvious screw holes, but there are these three peg holes which you can use to put in some landing gear. It would have been nice if the landing gear just folded away, but the fact that you can still display it with landing gear is nice, and transforming it is a pretty simple affair. The tail is linked to the front half of the body, so when you move it, it goes automatically. And sticking this in place, pretty easy, just line up the pegs, stick it down, and it is really in place. Moving on to the other accessories, we have this beam rifle, which has a real metal link down at the bottom of the grip, a forward grip that despite its wide size actually fits into the open hands quite well, and a really nice looking yellow piece for the scope, which only moves this much. I like that the scope carries a lot of light through it, so it looks like you can see through it almost, but of course on the back it's completely solid. Because of the weird angle that the wrist sits at, the back of the rifle kind of runs into the top of the forearm, so posing with the rifle is a little bit awkward. Next we have the bazooka. You get two in the box. They're symmetric, so one has a scope on the right side of the bazooka and the other one has it on the left. The only moving part on it is the grip, which moves forward slightly, and also side to side, which is really helpful for getting the back of the bazooka over the shoulder. No other gimmicks on it, and there's a pretty bad seam line that runs across the whole middle, but it's really well painted and detailed. And next you get two shields. You have one that's a classic Katoki design that has no cross, and you have another one that has a cross. And this is really for use for when the Gundam is combined with the G-Fighter. As you can see, there's some assembly required to get this equipped onto the Gundam, and the panel lining is a little bit heavy, but the back is really nicely shaded, which looks pretty good. You can see the holes at the top, and what that allows you to do is to use this gray piece to combine the two shields together. Like so, in a stacked, sandwiched kind of configuration. I don't really like the look of this. It's also quite heavy, but it's something that you can do with it, and I'm sure some people like the idea that you can recreate this arrangement. Both of the little sights on top of the shields are fused shut, so there's nothing you can flip open to let the Gundam see through it. And last we have the beam sabers, which are a really light pink color and not too long or pointy, but the little bevel at the end is huge. You can see that the Gundam still has its two beam sabers equipped, and you get two more of these as well as another two that you can put on the back of the Gundam. There's an alternate attachment for the inside of the shield that will allow you to hang two beam sabers on the inside of the shield in typical Katoki fashion. And to prevent damaging the head, you also get an alternate squishy V-fin. With all the small accessories out of the way, here is the G-Fighter, and I think this is the real reason to pick up this action figure. You can see plenty of Katoki style markings all over it. The G-Fighter is almost completely plastic, except for the bar that runs underneath the middle, which is metal. And you have some real rubber treads down there. And as you can see, as I roll it back and forth here, it actually rolls, which is a nice feature that this version of the G-Fighter has that the Master Grade does not. Now, I'm not sure if articulation is the right word, but the cannons on the top can move, and each one can go up and down. If we flip it to the side, the wing pods ratchet, and this spins all the way around for the G-armor configuration. And then on the back, you can lift up the treads, and you can stick them inside the bottom so that they are stored. Like so. This gives the G-Fighter a really clean undercarriage. And as you can probably expect, the Gundam can combine with the G-Fighter in any number of various ways. So we have the G-Armor, we have the G-Mecha B parts, we have the G-Bull, and if you take out the Core Fighter, it's called the G-Bull Easy. And next we have the G-Sky, and if you take the legs out and you use a spacer piece instead, it's called the G-Sky Easy. And you'll probably have noticed now that I haven't talked about a stand, and that's because this figure doesn't come with one. And that makes displaying the G-Mecha B parts kind of difficult because there's no way to really stand this thing up. Trying to put this on an Action Base 1 or an Action Base 4 is pretty risky. I personally really like how big and almost unnecessary the G-Armor looks. And the fact that this is like a really complete, detailed Katoki-ish package of such an absurd thing from the original Gundam series, that just really intrigues me in a funny way. As for everyone else, there's really not much of a reason to get this if you're not into the G-Fighter. The modelers among you will be able to make the Master Grade Ver.Ka look just as good as this action figure, probably even better. And if you really wanted to, you can probably figure out some way to make that kit fit inside of the Master Grade G-Fighter. So for you to really want this action figure at all, you'd have to want the Ver.Ka, really badly, but you'd also have to not want to paint it at all, and then pay whatever secondhand premium there is on this action figure right now. So that's all for this review. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.